Iran has an army of women. They train in judo and self-defense. They learn to rappel down walls, to fire weapons, to arrest and to detain, a fully drilled security force. But the enemy this army was built to fight isn't a foreign soldier on a border. It's other Iranian women, walking their own streets. This is the story of two armies of women inside the same country, the ones paid to enforce the rules and the tens of millions forced to live under them. Iran is a nation of almost 88 million people, and around half of them are women, roughly 44 million lives. And from the moment they are born, those women live under one of the strictest, most codified systems of control anywhere on Earth. For decades after the 1979 Islamic Revolution, there were no women in Iran's police force at all. The uniform was closed to them entirely. That changed in 2003, when the first 400 female officers graduated in Tehran, the first policewomen the country had seen since the revolution. And they were not there for show. They were drilled in judo, in weapons handling, in rappelling, in arrest and detention, just like the men. But above the regular police sits something far larger and far more feared, a paramilitary network called the Basij. The Basij claims more than 12 million members, with hundreds of thousands combat-ready, and it runs entire branches made up of women dedicated to enforcing morality. Because their oldest and most important job has never really been crime. It is policing how other women dress, move, and appear in public. This is the Guidance Patrol, Gasht-e-Ershad. The world came to know it by a blunter name, the Morality Police. Officially, they exist to guide. In practice, their vans crawl the streets hunting for a loose strand of hair, a coat cut too short, a headscarf pushed too far back. Break the mandatory dress code, and you can be stopped, warned, filmed, and hauled into that van, very often by another woman in a black chador. If these are the kinds of stories you want more of, take 1 second to subscribe. It genuinely helps. Now, back to the streets of Tehran. On September 13th, 2022, that machine stopped a 22-year-old woman named Mahsa Amini, who had come to the capital to visit family. The morality police decided her hijab was worn improperly. They forced her into a van and drove her away to a detention center for re-education. 3 days later, on September 16th, Mahsa Amini was dead. The police insisted she had simply suffered a heart attack. Women detained alongside her said she had been beaten inside the van. She never woke up. She had traveled from her Kurdish hometown of Sakez to Tehran, an ordinary trip that ended on the floor of a police station. Her death lit a fire across the country. Protests erupted in more than 150 cities, carried by 3 words: woman, life, freedom. The crackdown was brutal. Human rights groups documented at least 551 protesters killed, among them 68 children. To understand why a state would kill over a headscarf, you have to meet the other army entirely, the millions of ordinary Iranian women. And here lies the paradox that almost no outsider expects to find. Iranian women are among the most educated in the entire region. They earn the majority of the country's university degrees, year after year. Nearly half of all employed women hold a university degree, almost double the rate of employed men. On paper, they outqualify the men around them, and yet only about 13 out of every 100 Iranian women are in the workforce at all, one of the very lowest rates anywhere on the planet. Among unemployed women, 71% hold higher education. They studied, they graduated, they qualified, and the doors still stayed shut, because the law itself is engineered to hold them in place. From birth to death. A woman needs a man's permission, her father's or grandfather's, to marry for the first time, no matter how old or accomplished she is. A married woman cannot obtain a passport or leave the country without her husband's written consent. He can cancel her right to travel at any time. In an Iranian court, her testimony is worth half of a man's. A son inherits twice what a daughter does. A widow gets just 1/8. And under the letter of the law, a girl can be married off at just 13 years old, younger still with a father's and a judge's approval. For 4 decades, women were even banned from walking into stadiums to watch men play sport, and arrested if they tried. But the cage is beginning to crack from the inside. In 2019, for the first time in decades, around 3,500 women were finally allowed inside Azadi Stadium. Azadi, fittingly, means freedom. And today, more and more women walk through Tehran with their hair completely uncovered, knowing a patrol van could be waiting around any corner. One army of women is paid to enforce the rules. Another, counted in the millions, has quietly decided that it is simply done obeying them. The regime built a female force to control its women. The question it still cannot answer is this: what happens when the guards and the prisoners are the same people?